welcome to our virtual cabinet meeting of South Kesteven District Council. I've just go through some of the quick housekeeping notes just to start, just for everybody's benefit. So firstly, to say that this meeting is being recorded. If I could ask members to turn on their cameras now and make sure any telephones are put onto silent. If I could also say that the chat box is there for the use of the cabinet members to indicate when they would like to speak. When invited to speak, you should turn on your microphone, and please do best to remember to mute your microphone when you have finished, and if not, one of our DEM services team will help you with that. We do have an exempt session at the end of this agenda, so therefore we will exclude members of the press and public, which is the usual practice, and there'll be no public business after that's been dealt with. So once we've concluded the public session of this meeting, we'll go into closed session and then we'll finish the meeting. There are also pink papers on a couple of the other agenda items, which I will note with cabinet members just to ensure that we don't talk about those in the open session, and if any member does wish to discuss them, then we'll have to go into closed session for those. Well, obviously, I think for some of us, we're all aware that this is now our second cabinet meeting of March, so not just one, but two. Obviously 2 weeks ago, this year's budget for the council was approved by full council, which will enable us to continue delivering our vital frontline services with no service reductions, and also implementing our ambitions as detailed within our corporate plan. And with the government's roadmap out of lockdown now in place, we are delivering direct support to our communities and preparing to unlock our local economy so that our district can recover at pace. And in practice, of course, this means that we are continuing to support our business community through the administration of business grants. And I'm pleased to hear that we've now administered over £40 million of grants to local businesses. And later this week, Councillor Dobson, the Deputy Leader, is chairing the Invest SK tea break, where I know we've got a number of businesses that we've supported and will continue to support, listening into that, as well as being addressed with some of our staff also taking part. We continue to support the vulnerable residents across our district through our Council Tax Hardship Fund and the activities of the Community Hub, providing that direct support for residents. We are, of course, still awaiting formal notification from the government following our recent final submission to the Future High Street Fund, seeking to secure £5.56 million to rejuvenate the Grantham High Street and the Grantham Town Centre. And I know we're all looking forward to seeing the results of that and then starting the progress of that project. I'm also delighted to announce that following the council meeting, our bid to the public sector decarbonisation scheme of nearly £1 million has also been successful. So we'll continue our drive to make ourselves more energy efficient as well as an authority. And in addition to that, it was also announced last week that Leisure SK has also been awarded £330,000 towards the cost of reopening the leisure centres, and the result of that successful application to Sport England's National Leisure Recovery Fund. So well done to Barry and his team on that one as well. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to getting those sites reopened again and back in use for all of our residents. And of course, we can continue to work with the County Council, our fellow district councils, providers, NHS and the Department of DWP to support our residents through this challenging time. We do have a number of items on the agenda, particularly in relation to housing. And of course, that is vitally important to us, and we are working hard to improve the number of high quality homes for local people, but just as importantly, of course, committed to driving up our own standards across our existing housing stock and service. So we've got some of those reports to consider today. Therefore, moving on to the first agenda item, I'd like to now hand over to Lucy Bonshaw, and we'll do the register of attendance, please.
Certainly, Leader. Councillor Kellen Cook.
Present.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
Present.
Councillor Annie Mason.
Present.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
Present.
Councillor Robert Reid.
Present.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
Present.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
Present.
That's it, all cabinet present, Leader.
Super, thank you. And any non-cabinet members, your attendance will be noted as per normal. Moving on to agenda item number 2, which is the minutes of the previous meeting on pages 3 to 7. I've had a read through these, and I'm happy to propose. If I have a seconder.
I have a second.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Stokes, please.
Yeah, it was just one comment on the non-members present. I'm just wondering what none meant after Councillor Ray Wootton.
That is a very good point. Shaheen, should I ask you on this one?
Oh, yeah.
My apologies, Leader. I'll look into that. I think it's just a typo and I can only apologise.
No, that's okay. Super. Thank you. Then with the amendment of removing none after Councillor Wootton, Lucy, if we can go to the vote, please, on the minutes.
Certainly, Leader. Councillor Kellen Cook.
4.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
4.
Councillor Annie Mason.
4.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
4.
Councillor Robert Reid.
4.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
4.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
4.
That's carried, Leader.
Super. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 3, which is disclosure of interests. Obviously, as you're all aware, if you have any disclosure of interests at any time, please don't hesitate to raise those during the meeting. And of course, we've also got noted your register of interest on our council website as well. Therefore, moving on to items for cabinet decision, which are key, and the first agenda item is number 4, which is procurement of improvement works to HRA properties, and I'll introduce Councillor Robert Reid, please, to formally move this item.
Thank you very much, Leader. The report in front of you is for, as said, for refurbishment and structural repair works. We don't expect there to be a great number of these, but we do need to have a mechanism in place which is currently lapsed. So members should note that the current contract, as I've mentioned, has lapsed, and the report seeks the authority to appoint UK Gas, a Building Services Division, as the preferred contractor to complete specific structural and refurbishment works to certain council dwellings over the next 5 years. These properties are those typically requiring structural works and associated refurbishments, and represent a very small number each year. In the following financial year of 21-22, we anticipate no more than 3. The works contract has been procured through the Efficiency East Midlands framework and is fully compliant with the council's procurement requirements and procedures. These works allow the council to quickly respond to structural issues impacting on its housing stock from time to time, and then bring such properties back into use as quickly as possible and close to all of our hearts, reducing potential rent loss of income. Any tenants impacted by such works are fully consulted, and the necessary quality and consultation arrangements are agreed prior to work commencing. Members should note the necessary budget has been previously approved, as I'm sure Councillor Adam Stokes will be only too aware of, and that it is agreeing to the contract. The council is not guaranteeing any levels of expenditure from year to year. So the recommendation is before my colleagues, Leader, and I will answer any questions or recommend that this contract is approved, as you have mentioned about going into exempt session for the pink paper behind, which I know that Cabinet members have got, and I think it should be self-explanatory. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, Councillor Reid. Do we have any comments on this report? No, then I'm happy to second this report, Lucy, and if we can move to the vote on it, please.
Certainly, Leader. Councillor Kellen Cook.
4.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
4.
Councillor Annie Mason.
4.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
4.
Councillor Robert Reid.
4.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
4.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
4.
That's carried, Leader.
Thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to the second item for Cabinet decision, which is key, is item number 5 on the agenda, the procurement of electrical works. And again, we go to Councillor Robert Reid, please, to move this agenda item.
Okay, thank you very much, Leader. This is about the procurement of electrical works. It's a very important and significant contract covering the electrical rewiring and, most importantly, electrical certification process for council properties. Members will recall that this is a critical requirement of the council's overall journey to compliance and involves confirming certification of all our council homes. Currently, it is believed, sadly, that there's 50% of stock that still requires certification to be brought up to date, and this contract will allow us to get on with it. The procurement of this contract has been completed using the Efficiency East Midlands framework and is fully compliant with the Council's procurement procedures. The necessary budget to cover planned works and certification requirements are already provided within the HRA capital and revenue expenditure priorities and are budgeted for. Most importantly, the work will significantly lift safety and compliance adherence, and it is an early indication of the Council's intention to get all of its housing stock to meet the home standard. Thank you very much, Leader. I will again answer any questions or anything that's technical to it. And recommend my colleagues approve this for us. Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor Reid. And obviously, we do have pink paper on this report, so if we can just be aware of that for any members wishing to speak. I think in relation to the recommendation, as you've already said, I mean, it's very straightforward. UK Gas Services Limited has been identified as being able to provide not just the best value for money, but also the ability to deploy the necessary resources to conclude the inspection requirements of the council. So it's certainly a positive step forward, and one in which I'm very happy to support. Therefore, we'll move to the vote on this agenda item then, please, then, Lucy.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Callum Cook.
For.
Councillor Barry Dodson.
For.
Councillor Annie Mason.
For.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
For.
Councillor Robert Reid.
For.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
For.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
For.
That's carried, Leader.
Super, thank you very much. Councillor Dilts, I've just noticed your question. If you want to hold it until item number 9 on the agenda, and then we can come back to that one.
Councillor Cook, I'm happy to do that. I'm not. I welcome the decision, but it just was a question on it. But it is quite difficult as a non-member waiting to when to put the question in the box. Councillor Cook, if you'll just appreciate that.
Yes, of course.
You welcome the clearly, cabinet members, but it's quite difficult knowing when to put that in the box.
Okay.
If you would appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, of course. Moving on to agenda item number 6, which is items for cabinet decision non-key, and the first agenda item is Lincolnshire Homes for Independence Blueprint, and again this report will be moved formally by Councillor Reid, please.
Thank you very much, Leader. The draft blueprint for Lincolnshire Homes for Independence, we have made sure that we are familiarised with its content, and indeed we have included the chairman of the Housing, Health and Care Delivery Group, and indeed an officer, Sam Neal, in an informal invitation to go through it. There is 3 hats really that sort of this overarches: housing, planning and community, and the understanding the needs and the opportunities, housing for people with care and support needs, which is really sort of the community angle within it, helping people, very importantly, to remain in their homes, helping people to move to a suitable home with aids and with reference to DFG grants, and working together, our vision. And of course, this brings us to housing, the other hat of housing, and build and influencing design on the future build, particularly of our bungalows with wider entrances and exits, wet rooms and the likes. I don't really I'll take any questions. I could talk about it for a good length of time, Leader, which I don't think you'd appreciate me for, having been there. I don't think there's much else for me to say, other than I'm looking for our participation to Lincolnshire County Council with the blueprint for the care delivery plan that was passed by the County Council last December. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Councillor Reid. And I think on this report, it is a fantastic example of working across authorities with the 7 districts, the County Council, the registered providers, the NHS, the DWP, and particularly across Lincolnshire to really drive this forward. So it is a positive step, not just for us as South Kesteven, but also for the wider Lincolnshire housing as well. So I'm very supportive of it, and I know we did have a small briefing on it not that long ago of it, and it was a very in-depth presentation you provided us all. But I'm very happy to second. So do we have any other speakers on this agenda item, please?
Leader, I'm unable to put a comment in the box, unfortunately, but I think you've covered it really, and Councillor Reid's covered it. I'm happy to endorse this blueprint. I think there's a lot of work to do, but the ambition and the passions are very clearly shown in the blueprint, and I'm really pleased to see some of the things that's covered: the domestic abuse, the veterans. There's lots of really good things within this blueprint, so I'm really pleased to endorse it.
Brilliant, super. Okay. If there's no other speakers on this agenda item,
perhaps my fellow councillor Annie Mason would like to second it for me.
I would be more than happy to, Councillor Reid. Thank you.
Super. Okay then, Lucy, then we'll move to the vote then, please.
Yes, certainly. Councillor Kellen Cook.
4.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
4.
Councillor Annie Mason.
4.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
4.
Councillor Robert Reid.
4.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
4.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
4.
That's carried, Leader.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to agenda item number 7, which is the matters referred to Cabinet by the Council or overview and scrutiny committees. We don't have anything from any of the committees. Key and non-key decisions taken under delegated powers is agenda item number 8. There is nothing on that either. Therefore, we move on to agenda item number 9, which is representations and questions from non-Cabinet members. If you'd like to indicate in the chat box, please. Councillor Dilks.
Thank you, Callum. It was my question on the electrical work, electrical contract, which I very much welcome, which helps the council get towards meeting its legal requirements on the electrical work. And my question was there a contract in place previously that failed, that didn't deliver, or was there no contract in place? I just wasn't sure from the report. Thank you.
Just bear with me a second. If I go to Mr. Stratford, please.
Hello, members. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, let's see if we can get video as well. There we go. Okay, the previous contract has lapsed, so it had come to an end. So this is the retendering of a contract, but with the added requirement to do, obviously, all of the certification we need to cover as quickly as possible, given, as Councillor Reid said, that this is an urgent compliant issue. So the contract previously had just lapsed.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, super. Thank you very much. And if there are no other speakers, then we will move on to agenda item number 10, which is the Cabinet forward plan for the period of the 1st of April 2021 to the 31st of March 2022. I think we're going to rename this the forward plan for the Cabinet Member for Housing and Planning, Councillor Robert Reid. I think most items are Robert's on this occasion. Do we have any observations on the forward plan at all? No, well, that is just for noting. Therefore, that brings us to an end of our public session. I'm amazed how quickly this meeting's gone, actually. It's amazing what you can do when you have 2 meetings in a month in quick succession. So just to, before I officially move, I'd like to thank all of the members of the public and the press for attending this part of the meeting. Our next Cabinet meeting will be on the 18th of May. Therefore, it brings me to propose that under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public may be excluded from the meeting during any list of items of business on the grounds that if they are deemed to be present, exempt information could be disclosed to them as defined in the relevant paragraphs of Schedule 12A of the Act. I'm happy to propose if somebody is happy to. Thank you, Councillor Dobson. So if we move to the vote to go into closed session, please, Lucy.
Certainly. Councillor Callum Cook.
4.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
4.
Councillor Annie Mason.
4.
Councillor Dr Mosley.
4.
Councillor Robert Reid.
4.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
4.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
4.
That's carried to go into closed session, Leader.
Wonderful, thank you. If you'd now like to exclude any members of the press and public and any staff that aren't required onto the next agenda item, then please.
Thank you, Leader. I'll just stop the recording for the